Hello, my name is Jen Zink, and I'm Director of Partnerships and Grants at LASSO Informatics. And today I'll be talking to you about NBDC data access, which includes the ABCD study data. So in this talk, I'll be covering how you can explore the data without login, as well as the process for applying for a data use certification or a DUC. And you'll have two options here, including an investigator-led group DUC or an individual DUC. I will then talk to you about how you can access all the ABCD study data in BIDS and tabulated data format, and this will include different query options and download options for you. And then I'll briefly touch on how you can analyze the data in situ using LASSO Safe, which will give you access to R and Jupyter Notebook in the event that you do not want to download the data directly to your local machine. So first I'll cover how you can explore the summary data and what you can do before you obtain your data use certification. So in order to explore the summary data and look at what data is available to you prior to applying to access, you'll first go to the nbdcdatahub.org website, and you'll click on the Login or Apply for Access button shown here. Once you click on that button, you'll be brought to a dashboard page which looks like the one displayed here, and you'll see that you will have information about your cohort characteristics, as well as information on your research domains. And you'll be able to look at this information in both chart view and table view. So in the next slide, I'll show you what these dashboards look like in action. So you can toggle between the HBCD and ABCD study data, and we'll stay on ABCD for now. And we're in the by cohort demographics page. So we're looking at demographic characteristics of the cohort. And the hover over feature will give you an idea of the exact sample sizes that fall within each category relevant to that chart. You can also view all of this information in table view if that's your preference. And you can also look at information by research domains to get an idea of sample sizes within each instrument for each research domain across the visits or sessions. And I really like this because it gives you an idea of what the protocol looks like, because you can see exactly what visits or sessions each instrument was administered, as well as anticipated sample size. You can also look at the corresponding data dictionary for any instrument, and this will give you more information about the items within instruments, including exact questions and response options. Once you decide that you're ready to apply for a data use certification and gain full access to the study data, you will go back to that public dashboard page that we were just in and go to the bottom left-hand corner and hit login. And then you'll be brought to a page that looks like this, and you will go ahead and click RAS and authenticate via your preferred mechanism. Once you're authenticated, you'll now see that your menu has a lot more options to pick from. And to get started, we'll click on the Data Access or DUC menu item. And there you'll be able to choose from one of two types of DUCs. So the first type of DUC that you would have the ability to apply to is an individual DUC. And this is mostly meant for investigators without trainees. And we want to note here that if you are a trainee, you are not eligible for this type of DUC. If you are a trainee, you are eligible to be listed on an investigator-led group DUC, which is really meant for investigators who want to apply for one DUC and list sub-applicants or their trainees within that same DUC. And it's also worth noting here that all applicants on a group DUC must be from the same institution, as indicated by all being from having the same institutional email domain listed on the DUC. So here's what the interface for the DUC looks like. You'll have your option to select individual or investigator-led. And I want to note that a person can only be on one duck at a time. So if you are on a group duck, you can also not be on an individual duck. So here the lead recipient is filling in their information. They're then entering their data use statement for why they wish to access the ABCD study data. They're making their selection for NIST compliance, and now they are listing their sub-applicants who they wish to appear on their duck as well. And again, you can see they all have the same institutional email address. They then listed their information for their institutional signing official, and then a DocuSign appears with the duck, and then the investigator can read through the duck terms and conditions, sign off on them, and once they click finish, that data use certification DocuSign will get automatically routed to their institutional signing official that they indicated on the previous page. And then the institutional signing official can review this document and decide whether or not they will sign off on it. Once you have an approved data use certification, you'll have access to all ABCD study data at your fingertips, and this is going to be BIDS data and tabulated data. So this is the first way you can query the data. Again, we're in the ABCD toggle and all study data search and filter menu item. So here you can see that we're looking at different raw modality data, and you can select your query of interest by toggling the switches on and off. As you toggle, you'll be able to see what different file types you'll have access to. And based on what toggles you have switched on and off, you'll have information about your download size, the number of files, and the number of participants. You'll also have derivative and source data that you can also make your selections and your queries. And as you adjust your queries, your file size, download size, and number of participants will also adjust. You'll also have ABCC collection access as well here, both raw and derivative data. You'll also have the ability to switch over to your tabular data and toggle on and off the instruments that you are interested in. And it looks very similar in the sense that you'll also be able to see what file types are associated with each instrument. So you can make your data selections in a really easy toggle fashion. Because these are large amounts of data, you will have the option to filter for only a subset of participants if you're not interested in the entire ABCD study cohort. Or if you're interested in just taking a quick look at a few participants, you can also just designate a number of participants that you're interested in downloading their data for, and you can just download a handful of participants to take a peek at what it looks like. You'll also be able to toggle over to the query wizard, which is going to be a point and click interface. It's going to be tabulated data only, and it's going to be queries at the instrument level. So you can select your research domain you're interested in. It'll auto-select your sessions that research domain has instruments available in, and you can filter out instruments that were administered according to your specified selections. And as you do so, the number of participants will update depending on what your query looks like. You can query multiple domains and instruments all at the same time, and your tabulated data selection will update accordingly. And once you feel you've made your selection, you can click your download data button and your run query button, and then your specified query results will download as a CSV directly to your computer. The final way that you can query the data is the dictionary query tool. And this is really for item level data within instruments. And so here we can see we searched for a total score. We're going to drag and drop our exact variable that we're interested in. We can select what session we're interested in and click download data, as well as the corresponding data dictionary for your query. So now that maybe perhaps you are interested in analyzing large amounts of data that you don't want to download to your local machine in a CSV file, for example, we offer an in situ analysis option, which allows you to analyze your NBDC data without download to your local machine. So Lasso Safe gives users the ability to do data manipulations, data visualization, statistical analysis, as well as more complex machine learning and computational modeling using tools like Jupyter and RStudio Server, all in one secure web-based location. Users will also have access to their own home directory, as well as documentation and compute power for larger jobs if they're interested. The next slide, I'll show you how this looks with RStudio as an example. So we would click on the RStudio, we would select our resources that we're interested in using. Then we would go ahead and launch our RStudio job. And as RStudio boots up, I will mention that currently we have only tabulated data in Lasso Safe, but in the future we will have tabulated and imaging data. And so here you can see RStudio looks just as it would on your local machine. We're downloading some packages so that we can get our analysis ready to roll. And then we have our file path that we would read in, and then go ahead and start with our analyses. So we really are proud of offering this tool for you, for those of you who don't want to or cannot download data to their local machine. This entirely removes that need. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to Leigh Macintyre or myself. Our contact information is listed here, and we would be very excited to hear from you.